Hello and welcome to E233. I'm your instructor, Gregory Myers. In this video, we're going to take another look at our student course registration system, and specifically we're going to focus in on our sort students function. This video is part of a larger series of videos focusing on the student course registration system, and it assumes that you have watched the setup video, particularly for the StaticArray.h, and that you have the .h files needed for this project, as well as a copy of our students.csv. So let's go ahead and jump into the function in our StaticArray.c and take a look at the function signature. You'll note that in this particular function, we are passing not only an array of students and the count of valid students in that array, but we are also passing an enum that indicates the field that we wish to sort and the order that we wish to sort. Now, this will require us doing a little digging to understand what those options are, and particularly you want to take a look at your scrs.h to see what the particular field names or field enums are going to be for a particular structure. So in this case, for the student fields, it's going to be student ID, last name, and student status. And what you want to do is you want to think a little bit about what those particular fields correspond to. So the student ID was that 10 character string, or rather 9 character plus the end of string character array that holds the student ID. The student last name is likewise assumed to be a string, except with 20 characters. And then the student status is the enum that determines whether the student is unknown, active, or inactive. So essentially what we have is we have two different types of fields that we're going to be sorting by. We're going to be sorting by either strings or by an enum, which is going to act then as an integer. We also want to take a look at our order options, and you're going to find those then in your core.h, along with things like your case sensitivity. We have an enum that indicates ascending or descending. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to leverage both of these enums that can be found in your other libraries to make our sort student work. So to begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to triage the options for my field and for my order. And so we're not even going to focus on the sorting algorithm right now. As a matter of fact, we're actually going to use one of the simpler sorting algorithms. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the different possibilities with respect to our sort students. And so to begin with, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and set up an if statement that looks, you can do this in either order. You can look at the order first and then the field. But for me, the most logical way of doing this is going to be to sort of as the first pass, sort of brute force this by looking first at the field. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my scrs.h up so that we can look at the different possible combinations here. So we'll start off with our field being equal to our student underscore ID. The next possibility is going to be using an else if, and we're going to say if our field then is going to be equal to last name, and else if field equal to student status. And then under else means that somehow that we had an unhandled enum. In other words, maybe we added an enum and then forgot to update our sort students, but we at least want to put a printf statement in here that says error unhandled enum, followed by a new line. And then at this point, then you can decide what type of return value you would want for your function. Now, if you recall from the setup video, we said that our sort students, the results would simply keep track of the number of changes in our array. So returning 0 as results would probably make a lot of sense for this particular example. And so now what we can do is we can focus in on each of these possibilities. And now we're going to look at the order enum, which was once again, we can find in our core.h, and we can simply set up another if statement. So if order equals to ascending, else if order equals to descending, and then we could also throw in an else here that once again just simply says unhandled enum, although you could probably argue that it is very unlikely that we are going to change the enums associated with our order enum. This just makes sure that we don't leave any possibility untouched here. And so at this point, what you can do is you can simply update this nested if structure for each of your branches. And then let's think about what this means for a second. So in other words, if our field is going to be the student ID, then that means if we're going to sort it in ascending order, that we're going to start with student IDs, maybe with the letter A, then with the letter B, and so on. If it's going to be the student ID descending, it's going to start, for instance, with the letter Z and go backwards. Likewise with the last name, basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be alphabetizing the student ID and the last name. And then in the case of the student status, then what you want to keep in mind is that the student status is an enum itself that corresponds to the values of 0, 1, and 2. And to understand what I mean by that, if you go to the student course registration system.h, you'll see that we have our enum of unknown, active, and inactive, which is going to be 0, 1, and 2. So if we were to sort that in ascending order, that would just simply be in increasing integer order. Descending would simply be in descending integer order. So at this point, hopefully you understand then how you would go about setting up or triaging our input arguments. We're going to look in another video at how to actually do the ordering. But at this point, what you can do is you can use your favorite sorting algorithm from the earlier videos and start by simply ascending the student ID either in ascending or descending order. So hopefully you found this introductory video useful. We're going to break this out into a couple of videos to make sure that none of them are too long. But as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to email me, and thank you for watching.